Apple versus Android, but what do these brands have in common? We fall in love with these brands and become brand advocates. We become loyal to these brands. But how? The answers are in this book. Today we'll be talking about the book Obsessed, Building a Brand That People Love from Day One by Emily Heyward. And as the title of this book says, this book is a guide to making brands people love. This book is perfect if you want to learn more about branding and marketing. But before we get started and talk about Obsessed, I just want to say if you want more videos, more book reviews and conversations about design topics, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss another video like this one. So this book consists of 8 chapters. Within these chapters, the key ideas are fear of death, elate emotion, sense of self, creating connections, strengthen focus, redefine expectations, embrace tension, and finally, make it personal. So the first chapter is fear of death. This chapter is about finding the root of the problem that the business is trying to solve. Many business owners, when faced with the question, what problems are you solving? They come up with solutions, aka benefits. However, that's not the real reason that people will be looking for your product. They won't know their problems. The famous Henry Ford quote states, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. So the customer will never have the answers, and consumer research can only take you so far. Another answer to the question, what problems are you solving, is the obvious problems. To get to the root of the problem, the why test annoyingly have a very beneficial to get to the root of the problem. Hence the fear of death being the ending to the why test. But there is other endings such as healthcare, feeling achieved, freedom. The why test allows you to find the real struggles and pain points of the consumer. Elate emotion. This chapter is all about finding the emotion in a brand and learning how to create a deeper story that the consumer can connect with, which leads to brands that they love. To get to the brand story, we first think of benefits, like it's cheaper or healthy. But when we want to get to the root of the emotional connection, such as happiness. So every time a customer interacts with you, they feel happy. But to have a successful emotional brand story, it's important to truly stick it throughout every single touch point with what the brand says, what the brand does, how it makes people feel. It has to be rooted in the product, as without it, then it's just a story without meaning. The reason why you need a brand story is because every brand can be cheaper than you, can be more convenient than you, and you cannot compete with that. But when a customer feels for your story, they can then become loyal customers. So why should people care about your business? Ask yourself that. Sense of self. This chapter is about building brands around customers. You want to create a brand identity that customers can identify with. Maslow's hierarchy of needs states that customers buy products to state their attributes and values, whereas in the modern world, brands are the ones that align with the attributes and values of their customer and not the other way around, which shows that branding is more about sharing the identity with the customer. That's why customers now choose brands that they support. This is created by brands showing they care about the same things as the customer, making customers feel good when purchasing. Branding is most powerful when it speaks to people's sense of self. The best brands are nearly indistinguishable between the brand and the customer themselves. And this is tapped in by identifying this sense of self. This also creates community. When wearing a product, it is as if the person is showing their support for the brand, but also shows their values, which is shared among other consumers, creating a connection and bringing people together. So creating a brand that people are obsessed about with is tapping into the sense of self.
Hello fellow designers, I'm here just to pop in and tell you about Envato Elements. It is not a sponsor of this video, it is just an affiliate link, but I really believe in their products and I just wanted to shout them out. So I use Envato for any fonts, any stock imagery and videos, any mock-ups and more. So let's get back to the video.
Creating connection. As spoken in the sense of self chapter, creating connection is also strongly focusing on the sense of self, as purchasing a product isn't all about the functionality that the product provides, but also how it makes the customer feel. The brand reflects those attributes and values, which does connect one fan to another as they share those values. And a business with a clear purpose can create these communities. But a community doesn't have to be a Facebook group or a physical meeting. It can just be a sense of community due to these shared values. Another important thing is the social responsibility. It should be built into the brand, not just added on, as if it can be easily removed from the brand story without creating an impact, then it's done incorrectly, as the social responsibility should be a major part of the brand. It should create an impact. Writing a brand story doesn't create a community though. A successful brand story will embody what is written, one every step of the way. A successful community does also mean leaving some people out by stating what you stand for and what you stand against, so you can't attract everyone. Community is what turns a customer to a loyal customer, meaning they are less likely to go to the next new thing. Strength in focus. When starting a new brand in the modern day, it is important to focus and offer very limited offerings. This removes a lot of choice, as people do like small choices. But a lot of choice can be overwhelming. So offering a limited offering is making the consumer life easier. When a brand builds loyalty, then they can start offer more products over a period of time. So again, the customer doesn't get overwhelmed with a whole lot of new products. Simplifying offerings also means that brands can focus on their emotional, overarching narrative, as by offering less, you can get your story right. But the focus doesn't look the same to every business. Focus for one business may be offering one product, but to another it may look like offering products that naturally go together, making it easier for consumers to purchase all these products at once, which reduces the research time for the consumer. This again allows for brands to have a focused message and remove distraction, making an easier purchase journey. This allows the brand to own their space. Redefine expectations. There is some categories that are hard to be imagined reinventing the wheel until a brand comes and does it. Is the typical saying when asking the consumer what they want, they would say a faster horse. The customer doesn't always know better. They make rational evaluations rather than emotional reactions. When creating a logo, the consumer may choose a picture of whatever the brand is selling. This would be missing an opportunity for subconscious power of design. You need a strategy that is rooted in consumer truths. You need to be bold and break rules to make noise, but also to serve a customer a better product. Embrace tension. The most interesting brands have the most interesting personalities. This is created by tension within the personality, having two traits that usually wouldn't go together, e.g. cocky and sheepish. This is the power of surprise. A lot of brands look the same, they sound the same because they don't have this tension. They become what they think the consumer wants, but this doesn't feel real to behave the same everywhere. E.g., think of how you act with your friends versus your family versus work. You act differently. But that doesn't mean that you are fake, you just present yourself differently in these scenarios. This is tension. Having consistency throughout these groups leads to predictability. Brand personality should play with people's expectations and be flexible for different medias, but the brand core identity needs to stay the same. Being consistent and predictable is boring. Being flexible, surprising, and real is what people fall in love with. This is what makes a brand interesting. Make it personal. A brand starts from within the founders themselves. This is what makes a brand more human. People fall in love with people, not brands. People want to talk to people, not brands. A brand needs a soul. It needs a personality. It needs opinions and feelings. Of course, not all founders are a reflection of their target audience, but it does help. And it becomes more powerful for founders to share these reflections with the target audience. A founder's passion can be contagious for people at the company and the consumers. When the founder is passionate, it can add a soul to the brand, making it easier for consumers to fall in love with it. When forming a team, it is important to take great care with who you hire, who will be a part of your team, who will be the face of your brand, as consumers take great care with who you hire. This isn't about public perception, but it's about building a brand, a team that share the same values, share the same ethos, share the same mission. So the conclusion is that brand is something that will be forever evolving around culture, around the team. It's all about how to appear and behave, and how will you nurture these relationships with the customer. As a brand that customers are obsessed about is all about the service to the audience. It's all about delivering value, joy for the customer. But the founder should also feel the same, waking up and finding new ways to deliver this. Branding is never done. It is a living, breathing thing that constantly needs work. And if you have enjoyed this video, you may also enjoy this book review all about sprints.